Hello, friends around the world. Hello, friends from Brazil. Welcome to this exciting Cybernetica seminar, which today is about building bridges, paving the way for scalable interoperability in large digitalizing countries like Brazil. I have an honor. I'm Oliver Väärtnõu, the CEO of Cybernetica, to do the introduction to this webinar and also talk a little bit about how Cybernetica sees the topic of interoperability. But before we go, I will go quickly through our agenda today. Like I mentioned, first of all, I will be talking a little bit about the history of Cybernetica, about how we see architecting large-scale digital societies, what we have learned over the years with our research, and where we see the domain is heading and where Cybernetica is heading. My presentation will be followed by Mr. Taavi Toomere's presentation. Mr. Taavi is the UXP product manager here in Cybernetica, and UXP is our renowned product for providing interoperability. Taavi will talk more about the product, how do we see the product evolving over the years, and what are the kind of fundamental key aspects when we develop the technology further. What are the principles that we use? Further on, I have very great pleasure to introduce Mr. Ilson Bressan here in Estonia. Mr. Ilson is the executive director of Valid, a partner of Cybernetica. And Mr. Bressan will talk a little bit about the Brazilian context, how Brazil is digitalizing, what is the Valid's value proposition in it, and how we, Cybernetica and Valid, will jointly provide services and what kind of services to the Brazilian market. And finally, we will conclude this webinar with a little panel discussion. I have an honor to moderate the discussion here between Mr. Taavi Toomere, Mr. Ilson Bressan, and also Mr. Arne Ansper. Mr. Ansper is the CTO of Cybernetica, and he is also one of the kind of founders of X-Road technology, and he will bring in the historic perspective of why X-Road was created and how he sees the technology further developing. So I hope that we'll have a really exciting discussion in the end. But now, coming to my presentation, I will talk a little bit about architecting large-scale digital societies across the world, where Cybernetica comes from, what are the research that we have doing in around the topic of interoperability, and how we see where we are heading with our value proposition. And that will be a very kind of a helicopter view, and Taavi and the others will talk further in detail about the specific technologies, about the specific challenges, etc., etc. We start, of course, the journey of interoperability and the journey of Cybernetica here in Estonia. Cybernetica, as a company, grew out from a research institute called Institute of Cybernetics. And basically, the domain of cybernetics addresses the topic of how do you digitalize certain processes, and especially how do you digitalize societies. And that's where we come from. We had a very, very profound knowledge when Estonia became independent in the early 90s about two topics: how to digitalize processes and societies, and how to do that in a secure way. And that's why Cybernetica, when the initial discussions about digitalization here in Estonia started at the end of 90s, became a strategic partner to the Estonian government. The Estonian government trusted the engineers to look into the future to provide a next generation kind of a state solution. Why build brick houses? Rather build something in the digital space. Address your citizens, your businesses in the digital space. And Cybernetica not only became the technology partner for the Estonian government, but also became a kind of a digital transformation partner. So funny enough, when we look at our history, the first contracts that we did for the Estonian government was not building certain technologies, but was rather building specific capabilities around these technologies. We started our work by creating a legal environment that helps the government to go digital. Also, with this legal environment, we started to look into the story of digitalization, and we started to look at what is the architecture of the Estonian e-government solution. And basically, Cybernetica, together with its partners at that time, invented a technology which is called X-Road, which is basically the peer-to-peer communication platform that enables secure data exchange between different government agencies, between businesses, between different databases. And if you look at where we are today, then basically the whole of Estonian e-government ecosystem is running on X-Road. All the data exchange is done over this X-Road. Furthermore, Cybernetica, of course, didn't stop with the story of X-Road. We moved further. We helped to implement the electronic identity solution here in Estonia. We helped to digitalize tax and customs systems, police systems, and also one of our key inventions is the internet voting. In Estonia, around 50% of the people vote online. But we have not stopped in Estonia. In fact, we use Estonia as our first point of reference, but we work strongly to deploy these technologies across the globe. Currently, Cybernetica is working in around 35 countries around the world where it has deployed its services, technologies, or solutions. And if you look at the map, then our customers are really from one end of the globe to the other, from Japan to Malaysia to Indonesia, encompassing Africa, the Gulf region, Europe, and ending up with United States, Mexico, Caribbean islands, and very, very happy to see that Brazil is the next country that will be on the Estonian or in the Cybernetica's implementation maps. And really, it's not only a story about interoperability, what Cybernetica has done in these countries, but we have a wide perspective of technologies and solutions that we have deployed, and this map, this 35-country map, encompasses all of these technologies. When we move into the topic of interoperability, what's the main aim for today? Of course, we start with Estonia. We start small, but we aim big. And today, as you can see, our reference countries where we have deployed our unified exchange platform technology, a product version of the X-Road, a more advanced version of the X-Road technology, this is addressing bigger and bigger economies rather than where the X-Road originally, for what the X-Road was originally created. We're super happy and proud of the references in Ukraine, Benin, Malaysia, which are all significantly bigger countries than Estonia is. But we are furthermore excited that Brazil, which Ilson will be talking about afterwards, is another significant step for us. We're going from addressing a population or a digital society from that is around 40 million to above 200 million citizens. Okay, we have also studied, tried to understand how different governments are tackling the interoperability topic. What are their lessons learned from deploying an interoperability solution to a country? And we've also tried to figure out where does interoperability lay in the technology stack of the country. Cybernetica has an independent research institute inside the company that does a lot of work on cybersecurity, on cryptography, on AI, but among other things, this research institute in the last years has also done research into looking at the topic of interoperability and about the government technology stack, how it is developing, what are the key needs, etc., etc. And please go to our website, see the research reports that Cybernetica has published over the years. I'm sure you will find interesting materials there and also materials on the topic of interoperability and how we see this domain progressing further. One key takeaway that our research has shown us is that the interoperability tool should not be seen as a tool for e-government, but it's rather a tool for e-society. One key takeaway from Estonia, if you read different kind of research reports from OECD to UN to European Commission, they always highlight that the interoperability platform that is deployed to Estonia or to the Estonian government is actually open to be connected with different private sector organizations as well. And that enables you to create a much bigger, much more advanced, sophisticated digital society. This is the governmental reference architecture that you can find from Cybernetica's research pictures or research articles that we have done. And as you can see, then interoperability is one of the key cornerstones of a successful digital society. You need to have an interoperability platform in place in order to provide or in order to move into a digital society. Please feel free to learn more about these building blocks by reading our research. But yeah, fundamental building blocks from our side is electronic identity, interoperability, with that also data infrastructure, basic services and trust services as well. I want to also show you a picture, and sorry for the kind of a mess that is there, but that's put quite intentionally. That is the graph of an Estonian data exchange or an Estonian e-government architecture. Each of these nodes are different organizations that exchange data between themselves in order to provide a service to somebody. And if you dig deeper, if you have some time to really study this slide, you see that there are around 800 organizations connected to the Estonian ecosystem. About 200 of this ecosystem comprises of government organizations and 600 actually private organizations. And that shows you why Estonia has received or has achieved this kind of a sophisticated digital infrastructure. It's not only government, but it's actually government and private sectors working together, exchanging data to provide services to different stakeholders. Stakeholders, I mean citizens, users, or businesses. And furthermore, providing advanced digital services usually means combining different data together from different sources, and that's what this picture is showing to you. A little bit more simplistic slide, which brings me to our collaboration with Valid, is another more simplified view of the e-governance reference architecture, the way we see it. You need to have two building blocks together in order to provide impactful digital services to your customers. You need to have interoperability and data exchange between different organizations, between different information systems, and you have a digital identity. You need to have a digital identity. Without the understanding of who you are talking to in the cyberspace, it's very hard or almost impossible to offer services, impactful services to your citizens, to your users. So these are the key aspects that we have to have in place. Without that, very, very hard. Taavi will talk a little bit about, and we will discuss in the discussion later on how do we see that the digital society should be built up, which kind of steps should be taken first and which should follow, etc. But now, coming to our partnership with Valid. First of all, I am super excited about this partnership. I'm also very grateful that we've had the chance to partner up with Valid to offer our interoperability product and our interoperability know-how to the Brazilian market. We see that the Brazilian market is a huge market. It has so much potential, and there is clearly a political and a societal need that we are addressing. So the society of Brazil wants to change, wants to become more efficient, wants to become digitalized, wants to become easier for access for its citizens. We also see that this is a remarkable reference case for Cybernetica to package our technology of UXP in a way that it can address the market or the user base of 200 million people. But furthermore, what we are trying to do together with Valid is we try to package the e-government value proposition in Brazil to address different states, but also the federal government. So packaging, meaning providing the solution for electronic identity, the interoperability platform, and then also a platform for providing services, whether it is a mobile platform for accessing governmental services, or whether it is a web-based platform like a government portal. With that, my presentation is concluded, and I would like to now invite Mr. Taavi Toomere to the stage. Taavi will talk a little bit in more depth how we see the product of Unified Exchange Platform developing. Taavi is the product manager of UXP. Thank you very much, and see you later.
Hello, I am Taavi Toomere and I'm a product manager of UXP in Cybernetica. And I'm going to explain what is the interoperability platform and what is the role of interoperability platform in large countries, and what are the challenges and what are the solutions when you need to scale up the interoperability. So in front of you is a Mickey Mouse example of e-government. And here you can see that there are 4 institutions. There is a government agency, there is a ministry, there is a private bank, and there is a governing authority. So why did I put these institutions? So first, let's go into the role of governing authority. So as in democratic society, the role of governing authority is to guide the whole operations of the government. And the role of government institutions and ministries is actually written to the law. The institutions have a mandate to create a certain policy domain. So now the government agencies need to provide the services. So in doing that, they need to fetch data from its own databases and from databases of other institutions. So and sometimes they even need to take some data from private sector or NGO sector. So in order to this to happen in scale, you need a solution. You need a secure platform for exchanging the data. So, and this is exactly where interoperability platform comes into play. It offers a platform that can be used for secure data exchange between the institutions, between the government institutions, and between the government and private institutions as well, if needed. So about the types of services, there are some data exchange that happens in the background, like back office data exchange. Then there is data exchange that is happening because of citizen usage of services. And in this case, there are 2 options. It can be like government service, where government needs to access certain databases. And it can be also a private service, like a bank needs to offer its services and it accesses government databases in this process. Let's take, for example, know your customer process, or take insurance that relies on the assets that are actually in the government databases. So in our view, the whole society that benefits from the government data, we call it e-society. So and in this way, we claim that by introducing interoperability platform, a country creates a single digital market. So, and in this market, private enterprises can use government data, and government enterprises can use either government data of other agencies or data from private sector. And of course, there are also NGO sector, universities, hospitals, and they are all part of this single digital market. When turning to other benefits of the interoperability platform, it enables to provide more advanced services like proactive services and even seamless government. What is the best government? What is the best e-government? The best e-government is when citizen doesn't hear about it. So, and how to achieve it, all the processes behind the scenes can happen without interaction with citizen. Like in case of seamless government, citizen can just say, okay, I want all the social security benefits, and that's it. And if the citizen behaves well, does its taxes, then it doesn't need to have any further interaction with government. Citizen-centric services and personalized services. Again, it's possible to collect all the information from the government databases and make the personalized services for the citizens. It's like with enterprise systems. You collect data and you're able to cater needs of a particular customer. Government is not different. So, one question I've been asked many times is, why don't we just take the solutions that are in the market and transfer them to our e-government? Usually, these refer to enterprise service bus that are then basically renamed to government service bus, which is kind of centralized architecture shown on the left of this picture. I'm saying that this is wrong, and I will say there are like at least 3 reasons. The first is the national security. When your national security is at stake, you cannot afford a single point of failure. And the more nodes you add to this e-government, the more valuable to this central point becomes for the attackers. So don't do it. Don't create such a single point of failure. Another thing is about scalability. When there is a central point that where all the communication goes through, it doesn't scale. And you need better architecture. And finally, the centralized government, it centralizes the power. The central point of this e-government architecture, it has a control over all the traffic, meaning creating this big brother watching you all the time effect. And we claim that decentralized approach basically enforces the democracy. All the agencies and institutions have their mandate that comes from legislation, and they are in full control of this mandate. They have full data sovereignty, including sovereignty of data exchange. They decide who can access their data and what is a legal basis. Okay, knowing all that, we can create digital services where sometimes citizens even don't have to interact with government anymore. We can create personalized services. We can have efficient data exchange between private sector and government sector, and inside the government sector. What is the impact? And this has been measured from the monetary perspective and from qualitative perspective. And For example, in Estonia, it's considered to be like more than 2% of GDP. So this X-road/UXP type of technology has increased GDP by more than 2%. So citizens and businesses have more free time. They don't have to deal with routine bureaucracy. So they can do something valuable for the country. Then next, I reviewed the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and I could say that interoperability platform contributes basically to all of them. So it's very clear that when digitalizing the processes, you have less paper. So it has a positive impact on going green. It has a positive effect on reducing poverty and creating basically the trust. So that all the institutions are responsible for what they are mandated for. And what's also important is that you will be in a higher position in e-government indexes, meaning that you are engaging with top-notch technology and you get top-notch results as well. So let's turn now into a question: what is different in case of interoperability platforms in case of large countries? We already saw that one ingredient for large countries is the right architecture. It's a scalable, distributed architecture. Another ingredient is the high performance of the platform, meaning that all the components in this platform perform well, are able to process a lot of transactions. Then they have low latency, which means that the integrated public services that the government is offering are delivered fast. This is important because you, as a citizen consuming the government services, you don't want to wait. You want it in real time. And yeah, that's about performance. Then what else do you need? You need scalability. And scalability means is if you add certain resources, then your processing ability grows accordingly. So vertical scalability means that if you add processing power and memories to your computers that are responsible for interoperability platform, then more transactions are processed accordingly. And horizontal scalability means that you are able to add easily computers to clusters to process more transactions. So these are the things that we are really focused in our product team and deal with this every day. And the impact is obvious. If you can do more work with existing resources, you need less hardware, you have less waste, and you can also have better agility. When business scenarios change, for example, you have COVID, you need to validate the COVID certificates, then you need all of a sudden more resources. Okay, so what do we know? We know architecture matters. We know scalability of the infrastructure matters. Another thing that contributes to the scalability is the ability to federate networks. So the base case here is that you have two states and citizens are moving between the states, which is very logical and obvious. Now, they want to consume the services in other states as well. Like if they have medical prescription issued in one state, they want to use it in other state when they are going to vacation. Why shouldn't they? So it's important that the UXP networks, interoperability platforms, could be federated. And it helps to scale the interoperability platform, especially federated countries like Brazil. Okay, final slide gives some insights what's cooking in our research and development teams. And here we have basically three types of things going on. We have studies, which is done by our research department. We have near to 50 people working there. Then we have prototypes where research department and development department tackle together the prototype issues. And then we have the implementation that is done by development team. So what are the hot topics right now? I'm starting from studies. It's currently we are studying the big data exchange use cases and everything related to it. And by use cases, I mean business intelligence, artificial intelligence, machine learning. How to do all this if you have distributed data. So should we centralize this data in a certain way to anonymize it? Or should the AI algorithms work in the distributed databases and then come back from these databases with the insights? So that's the essence of the studies. Previously, we have studied also impact of post-quantum cryptography on data exchange platforms. And now we are moving to prototyping phase in this summer. So the idea is that when your data that you are exchanging needs to be secure, like let's say 8 years, then you need to secure it post-quantum proof already today if the post-quantum computer is invented in 5 years. So we are really closely monitoring this in our research department and also in the development department. And finally, our development team is currently implementing the multi-tenancy features in UXP, which means that the UXP components can host several independent organizations. So it's actually the opposite of large scale. It's a small scale. If you want to save some cost, then you can put small organizations to a single component so that they are not able to access each other's configuration and data. And of course, we are working on performance and scalability, meaning throughput, latency, concurrency of transaction processing, and scaling. So this is I would say, 3-year roadmap. There are a lot of more, but I will tell you more if you contact me. With this, I conclude my presentation, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Taavi. It's great to be here together to talk about the challenges of interoperability platforms around the world. Thanks for having me. I'm not the tech guy in this room, but we have a lot of tech guys here in Cybernetica, and our team in Brazil of tech guys are so huge. So like a businessman, I'm here excited to discuss opportunities, especially when we recently closed our partnership between Valid and Cybernetica to apply all this knowledge and portfolio of solutions in Brazil. I will start introducing myself, and after I would like to talk about the environment on Brazil, and finishing by our approach, Valid's approach from regarding e-government in Brazil, and our vision of the path to building a security and digital society for all Brazilian people, as Estonia has made, applied to a more challenging environment in terms of population, spheres of government, and stage of economic and social development. The case of Estonia inspires us deeply, greatly, as an ideal digital society. And also, we are observing other countries, such as United Kingdom, or India, or Malaysia, like Oliver says, Vietnam, and other countries, to learn about their experience and to apply in Brazilian country, in Brazilian environment. I'm Ilson Bressan, Executive Director of Valid. I am responsible for the Valid ID business unit, the leading issuer of identification documents in Brazil. I joined Valid just over 3 years ago. My DNA as a professional, my passion is like an entrepreneur, passionate about innovation and transforming the lives of people, companies, community, society. Before Valid, I founded a startup in Brazil, and I worked for digital marketplace platform for almost 10 years. Now in Valid, it's time to serve Brazilian society as the largest trust provider and transform our reality by digitizing services, especially now government digital service in Brazil. Brazil has over 20 million people, 20 million demonstrating the complexity of a developing society. We have 3 levels of government, 3 spheres. The federal government, with several services digitized. We have 27 states or federative units and more than 5,500 municipalities. States and municipalities are responsible for delivering the most public services because the day-to-day life happens in these places, especially in the cities. For example, the states are responsible for issuing each citizen's ID or each driver's license for the citizens. States and municipalities are responsible for delivering most of the benefits and services to the Brazilian citizens. As a result, we have more than 100,000 institutions or government departments in these three spheres that, in some way, provide several services to citizens in healthcare, in education, security, companies, and benefits in general. Because of this complexity, we at Valid think that it is important to debate how the public and private sector can work together to reduce these gaps and move faster toward an integrated government that provides better services to citizens. Brazil has a GDP per capita of less than $9,000 a year, which is a third of what Estonia has today, for example. Brazil is the 87th place in the Human Development Index and 65th place in education on the PISA ranking, although we are in the 10 largest economies in the world. On the other hand, Brazil is highly advanced in digital behavior, especially in the private sector, which is usually digitized, like in e-commerce, in banking, in payments, and marketplace, delivery, mobility, etc. We save time, we save money as a client in Brazil using the private services in our day-by-day life. We have almost 250 million smartphones in use today. That's 1.2 smartphones per person. If we consider laptops and other tablets, the number of portable devices reaches more than 300 million, or 1.7 per habitant. We are the second country in the world where we spend the most time on a screen each day, on smartphone, on tablets, on computers. We are in the 14th place in the United Nations ranking of Digital Services Index, and we are in second place in the World Bank ranking of the government maturity stage, especially in the federal sphere. However, there are millions and millions of fraud attempts every year in Brazil. A recent research indicates we have more than 2,000 fraud attempts per minute. It's a huge problem. An important research institution in Brazil, the Getúlio Vargas Foundation, states that we spend between $20 billion and $35 billion annually on identity proofing. This shows that we have many opportunities ahead, collaborating between Valid and Cybernetica. We can and must create the most robust platform in the world to integrate the established interoperability between all government databases in the federal state, in the municipal state, in the federal level, the state level, and municipalities, and with all the private players. We can and must eliminate the fraud and providing better services to the citizens and clients in Brazil. It's in this context and environment that Valid operates in three ecosystems: identification and e-government, banking and payments and retail, and security connectivity with SIM cards and eSIM. Worldwide, we have a presence in more than 16 countries, where we are the fourth largest SIM cards player globally. In Brazil, we are the largest issuer of official documents, with 80% of market share in issuing driver's license and 60% of market share in issuing ID documents. We issued approximately 28 million official documents in this year, 2023, more than 2 million a month, more than 120,000 official documents every working day. We have over 3,500 employees and have been in business for over 65 years. We are behaving like a startup in our whole life and betting now on revenue growth and relevance. Exactly with these capabilities that we believe that we can provoke an important movement between an ID provider to an enabler player, an important player in Brazil. Our track record and capabilities as the largest issuer of official documents give us the opportunity of now to be the leading enabler for digital transformation in the government environment and the possibility to build the trust ecosystem we need as a country and we need as a society. We are exactly in this march, in this movement, from the biggest issuer of documents, physical and digital, to a main enabler for e-government in Brazil, and become in the future the most relevant trust ecosystem that Brazilian society needs. For a complex, large and diverse country like Brazil, we have a large, diverse and robust company like Valid. We believe that these three pillars will lead us to a more advanced and safer society. Strong and security ID, the interoperability platform, which we are discussing now, and which are the main reason we put in march this partnership with Cybernetica and the digital services. Interoperability is the second major concern of our clients in Brazil. The first one is regulatory framework. But discussing about how we can interchange data in a security way, providing best services, is absolutely the main concern of our clients in the state level. With alliance like a Cybernetica providing technologies, co-creating solutions, and increasing Valid portfolio, we will increase the capacity to implement real changes in the current Brazilian scenario. Co-creating with other companies and partners like Cybernetica, co-create with the Brazilian government in all of their spheres. Regarding the interoperability platform, this is the main area on now Cybernetica and Valid are currently collaborating on. We understand that safe digital world is impossible without a secure and strong identity connected in an interoperability platform, interconnected everything between the public and private services, the private sector, all the journeys that the citizen and the clients for our day-by-day life. That's why you went to Cybernetica to find this partner to accelerate us on this interoperability from Brazil. Looking at the global market, we saw that the UXP platform could perfectly match what we need in Brazil and Valid futurist vision. Brazil's main challenges in terms of data integration and sharing data are mainly related to security, to suitability to local needs, to stability, to usability and privacy. Especially about security, we saw that UXP platform provided us the cryptography plugins that brings standards that we need today. About localization, adapting to local needs, we know how much we can develop and support tailor-made development in Brazil, considering the local scenario. Again, for a complex country, for a large country, for a diverse country like Brazil, we have a large company, a strong company like Valid, now boosted by Cybernetica technology in terms of interoperability platform. It's a big value proposition for Brazilian market. About scalability, UXP was built for a large countries, not only the size of Estonia, but other countries already mentioned by Oliver and Taavi, like Ukraine, Malaysia, Japan, and others. We want to build something even more significant in Brazil with Cybernetica. About privacy, Brazil has an advanced law in terms of privacy, practically the same as the European GDPR. So it is important to know what the UGP platform, the UXP platform already has consent management and personal data access tracking features, which allow us to define the best access rules, consent, revocation, etc., empowering the owner of the data, each one of us. Lastly, I emphasize that we need the team of Cybernetica to understand the Brazilian moment, to understand the Brazilian opportunities, and we are absolutely comfortable with this support from Cybernetica right now. All these factors led us to define Cybernetica as a partner And we are so happy, so excited with this strategic partnership. That's why we are here, happy and motivated to make the difference at this stage in the development of the Brazilian society, especially about the government services, as an essential step to our evolution economically and socially. Brazilian people deserve a better country and a better standard of living, and we are committed to delivering this with all the best solution in the world to our clients in Brazil, starting by this partnership between Cybernetica and Valid. With this vision based on Valid ID capabilities, core competencies, we understand these three pillars: strong ID and security ID, interoperability and digital services, are the main reason that we can change the Brazilian society. First, in the front of public services, in security and identification, in health services, in hyper-automation of transit authority, in education, in mobility, in companies and trade association, but also we can and we have competence for change the journeys, the quality of the journeys for private services, especially integrating with the UXP platform, the different databases from public sector and private sector. On private sector, we can provide onboarding and background check, payments and anti-fraud services, day-to-day identification, the social benefits, travel, shopping, etc. Everything like Estonia has made on these last 30 years. We are building this platform in Brazil with the support of Cybernetica's team, especially in interoperability. As a company at Valid, and personally, we want to leave a legacy to develop a safe and digital society that enable a lot of economy and social growth for Brazilian people and inspire other countries around the world. Thank you so much to everyone. Thanks Cybernetica's team. Thanks Oliver. Thanks Taavi. Thank you all.
Welcome back. I have a pleasure to moderate this session with true giants in the room. First of all, Ilson and Taavi, thank you for this insightful presentations and where you see the technology is going and how do you see the Brazilian market developing. I hope that each one of you listening to us found at least something to consider. Furthermore, I'm super excited to present Mr. Arne Ansper to this conversation. Arne is the CTO of Cybernetica, so he actually oversees all our major technological decisions in the company. But furthermore, he was actually in the team, in the original team that created the X-Road technology. And he's considered, or he is, the architect of the X-Road, and he has also written his master thesis about X-Road. And he has kind of developed our thinking here in Cybernetica in regards to where the domain of interoperability should be going. We have 25 minutes. We have some preset, or I have some preset questions that I would like to ask from these gentlemen. And we have also chat going on, and I know that there is at least one question coming in from probably Brazil that I would also bring into the conversation. But let's start off with a very kind of generic question, is why is interoperability important? Taavi mentioned in his slides about what interoperability can bring, but why is interoperability important? When you pitch to a politician or a CTO, why is it important to focus on interoperability? Ilson, you want to go first?
Okay, let's go. I think from Brazil perspective, we consider important a huge interoperability platform because we need to guarantee the principle of just once when we need to identify each of one of the citizens in different parts, consuming public services or private services. As I mentioned in my presentation, we have a research from the Júlio Vargas Foundation that said we spend between $20 and $35 billion per year proving identity. So we don't have a backend to connect different databases to prove that I am in each different service that I can consume. So Brazil has 27 different states with 27 different databases. Only in the state level. In the federal level, we have huge databases from health institution, from tax institution, and we need in each of these services we need to prove in a different way, spend a lot of time to prove that I am. And the other important thing is we spend a lot of time, but a lot of money with benefits that are delivered to the citizens. Sometimes we have a lot of frauds, especially in federal level. So interoperability for us is this backend that permit we can prove in a simple way my identity consuming the different services from different government levels, government departments, and private sector too.
Thank you, Ilson. Arne,
Yeah.
from CTO to CTO, why would you say that, for example, let's not talk about Brazil, but let's say, I don't know, country in Argentina, a lot in the public that right now discussed. Why interoperability?
Yeah. I think that the single most important thing is efficiency. And I've been with UXP, with X-Road, I would say with interoperability in general from the very beginning. And actually, if you talk about this efficiency, it has evolved. Like the efficiency problems that we are solving, in the beginning it was one, then it evolved to the second problem, and I would say now we have a third kind of problem to solve. And in Estonia, 2001, it's like 22 years ago already, the problems that we were solving was connecting governmental agencies of single country, making it efficient, and the focus was on the, let's say, to some extent, the focus was on security and in a legal status. And when we did the analysis, we decided to create one system that can be used by all governmental authorities. Whatever is the application, how security critical is the application, it doesn't matter. We built a system that they could use. And the reason was very simple. As soon as we have one service that cannot be implemented on this infrastructure because of some security concerns or some legal concerns, then we have to create another infrastructure. So our cost will double. So this is something that we wanted to avoid. And in Estonia, we succeeded. Like really everything can run top of X-Road in Estonia. Then 10 years later, 2012, we started to develop a new version of X-Road. That's kind of like also the source of UXP today. And then we had a different kind of efficiency problem. Like it was an international communication between different countries. Like we solved the problem for Estonia, but what if there are two countries who need to have a autonomous control over their infrastructure? They need to have an independent instance, but they need to collaborate. And there are two options, like you build another infrastructure for international communication and you have a double cost again. And this is what we want to avoid. So we designed a new system to support federation. So you can have one infrastructure that you have full control, you can use for your own country, but also for international communication. We have between Estonia, Finland, in Brazil, I see this is very important that it's at all levels. You can do it at all levels efficiently. And now with this recent developments, we have an efficiency problem if you talk about number of transactions, like a pure through output. And this is the problem that we are currently solving. And I think that we are doing the system was designed to scale to world levels, but of course there are some things that we need to develop a little bit further to actually realize this vision of like a worldwide interoperability. Yeah. So efficiency.
Thank you, Arne. And as a product manager, why interoperability?
I think what's important for interoperability is trust. Trust that it creates in government. So all the processes are digitalized. They are all measurable. And there is less corruption when everything can be measured. And then there is more trust in government. So that's one aspect of trust. Another aspect is that citizens have control over the private data. So they can see who accesses their private data and what is their reason. And if they ask questions, then obviously this is a legal case. So that at least this is a way how it works in Estonia. And I think that's an experience that we want to export. How citizen can get control over its data and to have more trust in government.
Excellent perspectives. I want to move forward and I want to touch a little bit about the difference between a business and a government. So I want to understand, like, what is the difference of integrating different business units inside a corporation or globally integrating different departments of a company versus creating a distributed or versus creating a governmental infrastructure or e-society, so to say. It goes to the topic of, I think, centralization, decentralization. And I would like to ask from Arne, when you started to do these X-Road studies here at the end of the 90s, I think the prototype of X-Road went live in 2000 and then the original technology in 2001. What were the considerations about the architecture? How did you come up with this thing like X-Road?
Yeah. Actually, when Cybernetica kind of like joined this project, there was already like a prototype for the centralized system to exchange or to connect all the governmental institutions. And we did this kind of like a holistic analysis, like security aspects, legal aspects, operation aspects, everything. And basically the conclusion was very simple. It is illegal to build centralized system for connecting governmental authorities, because at this time Estonia had a very good, very practical law how the government does IT, how the new databases are established, what are the grounds for it, etc., etc. How and who can access the data. It was very kind of like a good system. We still follow the same principles. And the thing was that there is a data owner, somebody who manages the data, and there are institutions who have a right to use this data for certain governmental purposes. Now, if we introduce a central body, then we actually introduce an actor who can see all the data. And there was no place for this kind of actor in the legislation. So in order to do this kind of technical solutions, we had to have changed all Estonian legislation, like this fundamental law, all the acts for our databases, etc. Now, with a decentralized system, actually we have like a direct communication between the owner of the data or maintainer of the data and user of the data. It was exact fit for our legislation. And actually, when the X-Road went into live in 2001, there was no need to change any legal act because it was designed for the kind of like a good democratic society, how it was like a doing the governmental IT. So we really designed the system for the those principles that we had, and it worked. In the, let's say, corporate setup, it's a very different case. I mean, like you can do so much like centrally. Of course, you have the security, you have the separation of duties, different kind of like data domains, etc., etc. But some things you can just do different centrally that it's impossible to do in the governmental setup. So that's definitely one thing.
Cool. Taavi, I think these considerations are relevant today. But what are the other important kind of characteristics of interoperability that we have learned over the years more that we have had it to the stack in addition to this decentralization and security?
I believe the most important thing we have learned so far is that it's not just about technology. It's about various things, various capabilities, starting from skills of people who are able to develop services and institutions that oversee the development and operations of the e-government legislation and so on. So we have this experience how to make things work. So and 360 degrees of it. So and I believe we are able to also hand it over to other governments, to this knowledge. And I think this is the most important thing. Is it's not just technology; it's a full package.
Thank you. Ilson, coming to Brazil, what do you think are the main challenges from your side implementing this interoperability platform in Brazil?
Thanks, Oliver. I think the main challenge in Brazil is all the players, all the stakeholders, private sector, public sector, different levels in the public sector, understand that this is a journey of we, not me. Because if one tries to solve the problem alone, it's impossible to do that. The banks in Brazil solved this problem many years ago. The telcos in Brazil in the same way. We are now fighting with the gap in public sector. But until now, the state level and the municipality levels and the federal level, we are not committed to go through this path together. Each one is trying to create your own solution. So I think the main challenge now in Brazil, considering the difference, the huge difference between public sector databases and private sector databases, is we show this challenge and go away together.
Thank you. I have a question actually from the cyberspace that I would like to turn to before we finalize this discussion, or before I ask my question. But I think the question comes from Brazil, and it goes like this. What are the main challenges in guaranteeing the security of citizens' personal information in the digital public services? It's a very, very wide topic, but maybe each one of you have an angle to this, or want to have a go at this. Who wants to go first?
Please.
From left to right.
I can start.
Okay.
I can start.
The tech guys first.
Yeah. This is also something that I think you could learn from Estonia. That it's like a systematic approach to the management of security in organizations. Because technology can do only so much, but you need to have a comprehensive security management. And in the government, it's a challenge in a sense that you actually want to establish some kind of like a baseline for the security, so that if you communicate with governmental authority, you know what to expect, what is a level of assurance, security that they can apply to the data that you trust to them. And this is a basis. In Estonia, we solved this problem. This is a really hard problem. It takes a lot of effort for organizations. It's not in a focus. So it needs like a constant pushing. They have their own main business, and this is something that is kind of like auxiliary for them. But I think this is important to have this kind of like a framework for security management in the public sector that is common for all organizations.
Yeah, I mean, to elaborate on this, I think you need a platform. You need a uniform approach to security, which is then one solution that is easy to govern. So you don't have like different connections and different security between each organizations. You have just one type of security and one type of connection. So it's in this way it becomes manageable, and in this way the risks are under control.
Ilson,
from my point of view, I think Brazil needs. We don't have a clear platform, a clear portfolio, a clear product that all the players can see. This is what we need. We have different solutions, different players, and different levels of the government trying to implement different solutions. So I think this is the big opportunity for us, for Cybernetica and for Valid, and show to a whole Brazil that we have a solution, we have a portfolio, we have a platform that could be implemented in a huge country like Brazil. So I think this is one angle for my point of view.
Ilson, it looks like people are really tuning in and looking at our slides and trying to understand or understanding what's being said here. You had a slide with Brazilian flags, and there's a question. On the slide that contained the aspects of the solution with Brazilian flags, what would be the caption? Like, I think they want to understand like why certain characteristics had 2 slides and why certain characteristics had 3 slides, and whether there is a scientific research behind the flags.
Yeah, let me. It's not a lot of scientific research, but talking with our clients, I try to recover it here.
Can put it up.
The slides. Let me see, and we can put. Yeah, please. Thank you.
That's the one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but talking with our clients, and Validis especially provide services to the states. We provide it to the federal level too, but especially to the states. And when we compare the main concerns, absolutely the main concerns are security with three flags, scalability, privacy, and comply to the legislation in global standards. When you compare what the clients said to us with the features of UX3 platform, we found a match between what we need and what Cybernetica could provide for us. Security is a question that concerns a lot of people. We are in Brazil with a lot of problems managing data, especially concentrated in huge databases in federal level. When you talk about scalability, we are, for example, providing identity in 12 states in Brazil. We are the main issuer. One of these states, like Piauí, included open an office here in Estonia with a population around 3 million people. And the question that the people on huge states like São Paulo with 40 million people, or like Rio, or like Minas Gerais with 20 million people, is scalable the Estonian solutions? This is the main question. So scalability is an important thing to consider. And we found in the UXP solution an architecture based on principle of X-road, but dimensioned to the huge countries, huge populations. So I think this is the main concern of the states with huge populations in Brazil, scalability. Privacy in Brazil is a huge problem too. We don't have no clue about who is using our data. And our data is spread in a web with zero control from the owner of this data, each one of us. So this is important to us to consider, and we need to develop more local suitability solutions, and I think we can do it together. And about legislations, we are absolutely comfortable now, but it's a question too. So this is from our clients, our concerns show to us.
Thank you, Ilson. We have 1 minute, and this is a question to Taavi. So, what are the most critical success factors for implementation that Cybernetica has learned, and how we can help Ilson to avoid the rocks under the sea?
Yeah. as I said, it's a knowledge transfer, and but we have to put it to a Brazilian context. So, and as I told before, it's like the full package that we want to deliver. It's not just software. We will not leave you alone.
Yeah.
Software.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of advisory work to do, review the legislation and institutions to see what skills are needed for people who develop the services and run the services. And yeah, and the most important is to transfer the knowledge and promote the idea that the benefits that the technology can provide. And then, and as you said, it's important to have the community that is responsible for development of this whole platform behind you. It's not, yeah. So a lot of change management.
Yeah. And with that, or on that bombshell, I think we are done with this webinar. I thank the panelists first for a great discussion, for Taavi and Ilson to present. Thank you everyone who have been with us. Thank you for tuning in. Like I said, I hope you found this relevant when making further discussions or providing further discussions, decisions in regards to interoperability. I wish you everyone a great coming holiday season, and we'll see you next year in Cybernetica's webinars. Thank you and goodbye.